Iris, and thanks to all of you for being here today. And first of all, also thanks to our delighted speakers, Thomas, Francisco, and our RINA colleagues, Francesco and Giorgio. The goal of today is indeed to have a very glimpse to the digital solution that RINA is promoting in a European funded project to support the digitalization and smartness of European industries. The purpose of this solution is mostly dedicated to optimize manufacturing and also reduce the environmental footprint of our industries in order to increase the global competitiveness of European industries in our global industrial market.
We can immediately start with the first presentation that is related to the So What integrated tool. Will be presented by Francesco Peccianti from RINA Consulting. So please, Francesco, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Iris. You should everybody should see my screen now, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the So What project. Sorry. Okay. First of all, I will present how this this tool, because again it's a tool, which are the users, which is the context, and we are foreseeing two versions of this tool, one online and one advanced, we call it, which will be desktop based. And then I will present you a timeline and a little bit of user workflow, but I'm not going that much in deep. Sorry, okay. What is So What then? The objective of So What is to develop and demonstrate a market-ready integrated software. So at the end of the project, our objective is really to have not something still very R&D, but something that can be promoted and used by the European industry and not only industry, as I will present in a minute. The tool should support industries, energy utilities in simulating and comparing alternative for using, recovering waste heat and also waste cold. We would like to simulate how to balance the local forecasted heating and cooling demand and supply, and also how to integrate renewable energy sources within the environment. The project started in June and should end in May 2022. This is a picture that I hope is quite explaining of this project. We do have, we will model not only the industrial facility, but also all the surrounding community. This is basically the very ambitious goal of the So What tool. So while from one perspective, the industry can be the focus of this of the simulations, from the other side, how the waste heat can be delivered to the community or to other industries. It's a focal point. Therefore, it will be important for us to model this community, its asset, including renewables that in this picture are presented as wind power, solar power, solar thermal, and so on. And in this sense, we would like not just to focus on the industry itself, but to the whole community that should benefit from this tool. Therefore, we identified the three main categories of users, which are industries, municipalities, regional authorities, and in general public authorities, which are more, let's say, involved in this surrounding community. And finally, someone that can be the intermediate actor, like ESCOs, energy service companies, or district heating operators. Of course, all these users will have different use for the tool, different purposes when using such tools. For example, for sure, in the industry perspective, how to recover waste heat is the priority. That can be done either within the factory or outside it. Therefore, it is important for an industrial player to understand which are the technological options, how they can be integrated, for example, with the renewable, And also, and here the second link, it's whenever it's not possible or not convenient or not the main interest to recover the waste heat and waste cold within the factory, then there is a community outside that could play a role. In this sense, public authorities can be interested in lower the environmental footprint of the heating and cooling in general, and we know that waste heat for heating buildings is a viable option, but it's important to know the demand for the heating and cooling, and whenever it's feasible to integrate streams and to identify where streams are. And of course, as I mentioned, there are these intermediate actors that could support and are vital to really deploy the project. So they know the solution, the possible solution. They can work in really deploying the project. In some cases, as in energy service companies, can be also the real project promoter. Therefore, we identified a workflow for this tool that for sure it's starting from the identification of the baseline. A baseline that can be referred either to the waste heat generation or the heat demand. In any case, based on a baseline, then we move on simulating the technological options and the scenarios that can be of interest, and then finally reporting and decision support. For each of these three main steps, logical steps, we do identify the various sub-objectives. As for example, I want to go in deep in all of them. As Iris mentioned, you will receive these slides. You can take a deeper look, and if you do want to know more, please just contact us. But for each of these steps, we identified sub-objectives. For example, for the first one, we wanted to have a minimal data collection. We know that data collection is an issue in general, can be an issue. Therefore, we wanted to minimize it, and at the same time, we want to provide some feedback to the user by providing maps, by providing views of the results. And while simulating the technology and the scenario, then we want they of course they are linked. Therefore, if you are just in the highest level, just for example, if you are considering to reuse the waste heat internally to an industry, or in case we want to link with the surrounding community, there are totally different scenarios, there are totally different technologies, and the outcomes will be radically different. And finally, for the reporting and decision support, we identified a series of KPIs which are again linked to the different scenarios. And what we aim to do, and this is something innovative about this project, is also to provide some support in the business model and contracting issues that may arise. So based on a scenario, we want, and the results of the simulation, we want to suggest some options. And we hope that, because we identify that these are barriers that often, I would say, can hinder the success of a project. As I mentioned before, we are developing basically two different tools. One will be online with a quicker use, let's say, and one will be desktop-based. For the future, the post-project exploitation, we envision the online one to be a free tool that any user can register and play a bit with, and then the main outcomes is basically a go, no-go output, just to understand whenever it's of interest for the user to go forward, and then because there is an actual chance of success for its project. While the desktop-based will provide much more data, much more detailed data, And also we foresee that a consultant can support the user in using this tool. Even though we are providing all training material online, we will organize a training session. We are not yet there, but you will, I hope, register to some of them. This is an invitation with some months in advance. And basically, all the main functionalities will be much more detailed for the desktop-based tool that can be connected also to the actual data management system of an industry or any database, while for the online version, there will be based mainly on data that are, let's say, pre-digested from ourselves. Where we are, basically, we are here in 2021, we are in the software, the core of the software development of this tool. We will be performing testing and validation. We do have in our consortium many actually demo sites. We will validate our tool with them, all the different pieces of this tool. And so far, basically, we developed all the foundation, the technology, the databases, and everything that serves the scope of developing this tool. And finally, from 2022, we will be working on implementing this tool and exploiting it also in other industrial environments. Here you can see some nice pics. Actually, it's not yet of the SOWOT tool. These are some mockups, some experience from IS, which is the main developer of the tool. But it will look like that one, and we will have different data sources that should include all the information that are needed and then organized into some maps. And the profiles will look like the one you can see in the bottom right part of the screen. This one is a Sinki diagram. This is the main output from the industrial perspective. And this is actually a real example we developed within the project already. And starting from, let's say, from the two sources of energy, which are natural gas from one side and the electricity from the other side, then they are divided into the different processes, the main ones, of course, but a fair number, as you can see. And then the process, it's understanding when there is waste heat, where is waste heat, and then to understand whenever it can be recovered within the industrial facility, or it's needed to, or it's a possibility, not a need, to take a look to the surrounding community. Here there is the methodology we are following to select the various scenarios and technology. As I mentioned, it's starting from the baseline definition, and then there is a natural step, let's say, which is not the focus of SOWOT, but it's included, of course, which is the possibility to reduce the energy consumption and eliminate waste heat, because of course it's it makes much more sense to eliminate waste than to reuse it. And then there is the part related to recovery and reuse at the factory level, which is sometimes the easiest one from the organizational perspective, but not always from the technical one or the economic one. And then there is the possibility to move towards the community and to supply energy to buildings or to a grid. We are developing as the latest step this reporting and decision support section. Again, these are just some mock-ups and outputs of previous project from IS, but it will look like this one. I guess you can see a map where different buildings are highlighted, and it's also should be also easier to present the outcomes of this of the tool. This is everything from my side. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.